everyone, it's Melissa. My camera looks different. I've had to temporarily go back to my old camera while I got the microphone worked out on my new one. This is a video that I'm going to try to talk as fast as I can to not take too much time. It has the potential to be very long, but there are quite a few things that I feel like I need to explain before I start this video. One thing is, this is my journey. This was done against my doctor's advice. He did not believe that going gluten-free was the right thing for me because I didn't seem to have celiac disease. He only believed that you should go gluten-free, and he's a very respected gastroenterologist. But it was a journey that I felt like I needed to go on to save my life. He has since seen the evidence through me by a scope, seeing how my intestines look now compared to the way they always did for years and years and years. And so now he is more open-minded to it and is actually talking to his patients about it, his Crohn's patients. But I did want to say it is established pretty much in the medical community that a gluten-free diet is only appropriate if you have celiac disease. So I know that there's going to be people that disagree with me, and that's okay, but I am aware that this is what doctors' opinions are, that it is only appropriate if you have celiac disease. I'm doing this video with Elle. Elle is for living. She said, now I know how you gush, and so, you know, you don't need to say all these wonderful things about me, but I do have to say a few things in that she inspires me. I talk to her all the time. She's one of my very, very best friends. She's beautiful. She's intelligent. She's a go-getter. She's positive. She's such an inspiration. I love her dearly, and she's just a special woman. In my eyes, she's near perfect. We've been planning this for weeks. In fact, Elle has already filmed her. She filmed her several weeks ago. But she did a video where she announced that she had Sjogren's disease. And I was actually pretty familiar with it because a really good friend of mine has it. And another family member, they are going through a process of trying to establish if she does too. So, you know, I talked to Elle, and I said, Elle, I'm very familiar with this disease. You know, have they talked to you about going gluten-free? Because the people that I had talked to that had gone gluten-free just had were very successful in managing their symptoms so much better. And she said, no. You know, I'll look into that. So she did. She said it's, you know, how much it had helped her, and, you know, she would talk to me about, you know, what do I do here? And does that have gluten in? You know, just practical things. And so, you know, we would have a discussion. She said, we need to do a collaboration. So I said, yeah, I would like that a whole lot. So this is how this collaboration came about. I have to, before I can progress in this video, I have to say the reason that I went gluten-free. When I thought about doing this and thought about my past and my journey, I cried every time. So I hope I don't start crying this time. I'm going to try my best not to, but this is a very, very important video for me because it's my life and it's my journey. And if I cry, I cry. But I went gluten-free because I have Crohn's disease. My Crohn's disease was first diagnosed in 1974 through emergency surgery. I was 19 years old. They thought they were doing an appendectomy, started looking around, saw that the appendix were fine, saw that I had Crohn's disease. So went through that. I spent years, I had always been a sickly child a little bit with my stomach and threw up a lot, things like that, and I was very thin. I was tall, but very thin, and my mother used to, you know, try to put weight on me and stuff, which is very typical of a Crohn's patient. So, you know, after I had the surgery, I was married, you know, I had babies, but I still suffered and would try to watch what I ate. I've always had a good diet. Even as a child, you know, I can't go more than a day or two without eating my vegetables. So, you know, I just was really careful about what I ate. And, you know, as time went by, It all came back. I would have more surgery. When I say have surgery, this is what happens. My intestines get diseased. They start closing up. Nothing can get through. They have to cut out sometimes 2 feet, sometimes 18 inches. They cut out the sections, sew it back together. The Crohn's usually comes back before my incision is healed. So, surgeries, hospital visits. My Crohn's was classified as severe. I was on, steroids. Started out, I think asulfidine was the first one. Pentasa, just, that was like taking water for me. Remicade, I started having bad reactions. Humira, extremely painful. Finally, Doug started giving me the shots in my stomach. I started getting reactions like, the size of a baseball, so I had to go off that. Had to go on 6-MP, which was an immune suppressant drug, and my blood work started getting not right. I even went off my, big Retin-A user. I went off Retin-A for at least a year to see if that would help, and that, no difference whatsoever. I can't stress enough how sick I was for years and years and years. Very ill. It affected me mentally. It affected us financially. Doug has had to take out loans to pay for medication, to pay doctor's bills, to pay emergency room bills. Before I went gluten-free, I was at the hospital at least once every 3 months having to get fluids. It affected me mentally. I had to go through therapy. It affected me in such a way that I couldn't leave the house because I was so tied to the bathroom. You go to the bathroom a whole lot. My average was about 20 times a day. I would never have been able to, without going gluten-free, I never would have been able to have my monthly chats with Kristen. I couldn't go to the mall. I couldn't be away from the bathroom. And this is a lot of information, too much information, so I apologize if it offends anyone. It's just the facts, and this is the way it is. My daughter would say, Mom, can we go to the mall? And I'd say, no, baby, we can't. And I remember Doug one time having to take me to the emergency room and looking at my son. He was still at home, and the fear in his eyes, with me trying to reassure him, Mama's going to be okay. I'm going to be fine. Don't worry about it. The loneliness of laying in a hospital room, wondering if there was a chance you could die, knowing what you faced, of people cutting you open from here to all the way down to your pubic bone. Test, things going in, out, up, being sick. It's a disease, and the severity that I had, I would not wish on my worst enemy, ever. But, I survived it. So anyway, right before I started doing YouTube, I had to have another surgery. My intestines got so diseased again. So, I was so discouraged and everything. Doug was, always been my biggest cheerleader. No, we're okay, we can do this. Even though we were very, very in debt. So I was home from the hospital after this surgery, and so I thought, I'd had some rice and did fine. And then I had some toast. And I was feeling good after my surgery, and I had some toast, and it hit me. I started, the nausea, the horrible feeling. I started throwing up, just being so very sick again, and I thought, what is wrong? What is doing this to me? What is making me so sick? And for some reason, I went to the bread, and I looked at that bread, and I just had a feeling that it was the bread that was making me sick. It was the gluten in the bread. So I decided I'm gonna go on a gluten-free diet. What have I got to lose? It's not gonna hurt. Maybe it'll help. So I did, and the way I got started on it's scary at first to go on a gluten-free diet because you're eliminating something. You're eliminating wheat, barley, and rye. And there are a lot of gluten things in the foods that you eat and in the cosmetics that you use, especially around your mouth and around your eyes. You have to be careful of those two areas. You can take gluten and rub on your body, supposedly is what they say, but it's just the ingesting of it that makes you ill. So, I did some research and I got started on it, and I started feeling better and better and recovering. And the medicines that they had me on over time, I went off of them. I talked to my doctor about it. He said, oh, well, it's a coincidence. Let's do a scope. That'll tell, because I know what your intestines look like inside. And I remember waking up from the scope and, kind of getting my bearings. And then he came over with a big grin on his face and he said, I have never, ever, in all the years I've treated you, see your intestines look so healthy as they do now. And this was 2 years ago. I have never seen them look so good. He said, you have the intestines of someone that is perfectly healthy and doesn't have Crohn's disease. So this is why I went gluten-free, and this is why it has been a big success for me. And I'm sorry about all the details of the backstory, but I think I wanted to stress, because I feel like I'm going to get a lot of criticism for this, so I did want to stress the dire situation that I was in. I think that there was a chance several times when I wondered if I would die. And if it hadn't been for my children, I probably wouldn't have cared so much if I had, because it was no kind of life that I was living. So I wanted to give that background to show the difference in what I was enduring for years and what my life is like now. Completely different. I thought it was going to be hard, and in some ways it was, but overall it wasn't too hard going gluten-free. I was really surprised. The first thing I did, and this is my first suggestion, is just doing a lot of research, talking to people. Go on the celiac disease websites have a lot of information on things to eat and things that have gluten, cosmetics that have gluten, what things to look for. Read your labels. That would be the next thing. You have to read labels. When you go to the grocery store and you pick up, if you're wanting to have some cookies, you better look at the back of that label and see if it has wheat in it. Because they have to list allergens now. So they'll say contains wheat, milk, eggs, something, or dairy, something like that, or tree nuts. So read your labels. A big thing that we have done is cook at home. Make our own food. Make it as nutritious as we possibly can. When you have a disease like that, you've got to try to make it as nutritious as you can. We are lucky that we try to eat as close to home as possible and as close to the earth as possible. As much like maybe the way our grandparents ate or great-grandparents ate. So we have a very thriving Mennonite community right outside of town, and they grow their vegetables organically. And so I'm able to go out there and buy things in bulk, and then I can freeze it, like my green beans and my okra, things like that. We can freeze it and have it, during the winter time. We have a big freezer outside. So doing things at home has been the most important thing for us. Like I said, I've always tried to eat well, so I always have to, have my vegetables. Now, I can't just sit down and eat a salad because a raw vegetable is just too much for me to handle. So I roast vegetables, which is really big. I'm going to be roasting vegetables today. Roasting vegetables, steaming them, cooking them, sauteing them, and getting them where they're easily more digestible to someone with a digestive disease. Things like that are important. But, finding foods that you like, that are a good substitute, and making your own. There are going to be expectations that will not be met, and the number one expectation is that you'll find good bread, because you won't. I was kind of shocked at that. It kind of, stuck in the back of my throat. But I kept looking around until I found some bread. And that's another thing. Keep trying different things until you find something that works for you and your lifestyle. we like or I like Doug doesn't, he eats gluten. So I like the La Brea bread. I get this at the store, and they keep it in stock, and I buy it and freeze it, put it out in my freezer so that I always have some if I want a sandwich or, some toast or something like that. The next thing that I thought was going to be just horrible was pasta, because I was always such a big pasta eater, which, was probably not good. But love my pasta, so I found a gluten-free pasta that I was able to work with that I really enjoyed. It's Tinkyada, Tinkyada. That it isn't too gummy. It isn't, I always fix it when the kids always come over for dinner. Even the gluten people eat it because I don't want to fix two separate ones, and they say it tastes really good and they're very happy with it. I still, on occasion, will bake pies and cakes and cupcakes. I just use a good gluten-free flour. There are two that I like. I like the Cup for Cup. I don't have any right now, I'm out. But my daughter is a huge baker. She likes the King Arthur Measure for Measure. And really, all you do is you take your recipe. I get a lot of my recipes from Cooks Illustrated. So I'll take a pie crust recipe, and I'll just substitute the same amount of gluten-free flour for the regular flour. That's all I do. When we have Christmas and Thanksgiving dinner, and Doug is going to he always makes the gravy for me. He uses gluten-free flour. That's just great. When I made homemade stuffing for Christmas and Thanksgiving, I made my cornbread gluten-free. Just used my regular recipe and used gluten-free flour in it. Used gluten-free bread for my breadcrumbs. It's just a matter of substituting, and it's a matter of planning ahead and realizing the things that have gluten in it and just avoiding it. Some potential problems are when you go out to eat. I always try to look at the restaurant ahead of time to see if they have gluten-free foods. And when I go in, I will always say, do you have a gluten-free menu? A lot of times they will. If they don't, I will request something very, very simple. I will say, I have an allergy. I don't go into detail. I'll just say I have an allergy. I have an allergy to wheat. So could you make sure that if I have a steak that they only put salt and pepper on it and not any other kind of seasoning? Or I will get a baked potato, or I will get a salad with some vinegar and oil on it, or something like that. Something very, very simple. So you can go out to eat. You just have to make sure you're careful and you watch what you eat, and be very you have to realize that there's the potential for cross-contamination when you eat. Like, you can't go out to eat and have French fries unless it's from a dedicated fryer, because they fry the French fries in the same oil that they use to fry like breaded things like chicken nuggets and things like that. So you're going to get the flour in the oil, and then your French fries, the gluten will get on the French fries then if they're fried in the same oil. I hope that makes sense. So that's the potential for cross-contamination. So when you go out to eat, just be really careful. Now, I do have to say, Doug and I, the only time that I go out to eat is when I meet Kristen. And we go to Red Robin. They do me a gluten-free hamburger and gluten-free French fries with a dedicated fryer, so I don't ever have any problem. But we eat at home. And I will cook, or Doug will help me cook, and we'll have leftovers. I cook a big dinner on Sunday, and that's just the way we live, and that's the way our life is now. So I was trying to think if there was any other questions. My pasta, my bread, and my flour have been the three most important things to find to substitute for. And watching cross-contamination, reading your labels, cooking as much as you can, eating at home, trying to not have foods. You should have your vegetables and your fruits and your food that's good for you anyway, especially as you get older and aging. It's very important to eat a nutritious diet. So it's easy to avoid a lot of things that you probably don't need to be having anyway, like donuts and cakes and cookies and stuff like that. So that is it. I hope I did this justice. I hope it didn't run too long. I hope that I did justice to Elle and what she's going through. I appreciate everyone watching. Like I said, this is not for everybody, and it is a diet that is controversial. I'm just telling you my experience with it. So thank you so much for watching. Thank you, Elle, for asking me to do this. I hope I did an okay job on it. Thank you for watching it and listening to me ramble and explain in detail all these things that I have going on with me. I really do appreciate it, and I hope I did this video justice, because like I said, it was very important to me. So thank you for watching, and I'll see you soon. Bye-bye.